She said it so softly I almost thought I'd imagined it. This stays between us. The words hung in the air heavier than the wine we hadn't finished, heavier than the late-night silence pressing against the walls of her living room. I should have looked away. I should have laughed it off. But I didn't. I was sitting on the edge of her couch, elbows resting on my knees, trying not to stare at her legs crossed beneath that silk robe. She leaned back in the armchair opposite, posture relaxed but not really, fingers curling and uncurling against the glass in her hand, like she was holding on to something invisible. Her name was Claire. My best friend's mom. Mid-40s. Beautiful in a way that made you feel small if you looked too long, not because she tried, but because time had given her a kind of poise younger women can't fake. The fine lines near her eyes only made her smile sharper, harder to forget. I told myself it was nothing, that I was reading into the way she looked at me, the pause before she answered, the half-second longer her gaze lingered. But tonight, there was no mistaking it. The lamp beside her flickered, its light honey-soft across her bare collarbone. She set her glass down on the table, slowly, as if buying herself time. "You shouldn't be here this late," she said, though her voice didn't push me away. "I couldn't sleep," I admitted. My own voice cracked a little. I hated that. "And you were still up." Her eyes narrowed, but not unkindly. "So you came to me?" I shrugged, pretending calm I didn't have. "I guess I did." The air between us stretched thin. I noticed how quiet the house was, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock on the wall. Every sound felt too loud, as if the night itself was leaning in to listen. Her robe slipped slightly at the shoulder when she leaned forward, and my breath caught before I could stop it. She noticed. She always noticed. "Careful," she murmured, her lips curling just a little. "You're staring." I wanted to say I wasn't. I wanted to deny it. But the truth was, I had been staring at her for months now, in fragments, in moments. At her hands washing dishes, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she read on the porch, the soft outline of her smile when she thought no one was watching. I shifted closer on the couch without meaning to. My knee brushed against hers, a tiny, accidental contact that neither of us pulled away from. "Claire!" I started and then stopped. Her eyes met mine, unblinking, searching. The weight of that look rooted me to the spot. My chest tightened with things I couldn't say out loud. She reached out, only barely, fingertips grazing the back of my hand. The contact was so light it could have been nothing. But my skin burned with it. "You don't know what you're asking for," she whispered. "Then show me," I whispered back. Her lips parted, caught between protest and something else. The seconds stretched. I could hear my own heartbeat in the silence. And then, a knock rattled at the front door. We both flinched, pulling our hands back like guilty kids caught stealing. Claire's robe slipped as she straightened, her breath uneven, her face a mask she tried too late to fix. She looked at me, sharp, startled, caught in the same fire I was, and for a moment neither of us moved. The knock came again, louder this time. And just like that, the night changed. The knock at the door went unanswered. Whoever it was left quickly, footsteps fading down the porch. But the interruption left the air thick with something harder to ignore. Claire didn't move right away. She pressed her palm against her thigh as if steadying herself, then reached for her glass again, though her hand trembled slightly against the stem. "I should get some sleep," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I almost stood to leave, but instead I leaned back on the couch, forcing myself not to fidget. "You never do." "Not really. I've seen the lights on at 2, 3 in the morning." Her eyes flicked to mine sharp, as though I'd revealed something I shouldn't know. "You notice too much." She wasn't wrong. I'd been noticing her for longer than I cared to admit. The way she sighed after long phone calls that ended in silence. How she lingered by the window with a book she never seemed to finish. Even the unopened bottle of wine that had sat on the counter for weeks until tonight, when she finally cracked it open. "Maybe I do," I said. Her lips curved faintly, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. That's dangerous, you know. Noticing. She rose from her chair, pacing toward the kitchen as if movement could dissolve the weight of what had almost happened. I watched her tie the robe tighter, though the knot slipped loose again as she reached for the counter. She poured more wine but didn't drink, just stood there with her back to me. Her son, my best friend, was asleep upstairs. That was part of the danger, wasn't it? Not just the age difference, not just the way people would talk if they ever knew, but the betrayal of trust, the impossibility of explaining why we were even sitting this close. I rubbed the back of my neck, trying to will myself into leaving, yet my body betrayed me. My eyes followed her, tracing the soft fall of her hair, the curve of her shoulders. When she turned, she caught me mid-stare. Her breath hitched barely, but enough. Don't, she warned. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you see me. Her words stopped me cold. I didn't answer, though silence said enough. She stepped closer, slowly, carefully, like she was testing herself. When she reached the couch, she didn't sit, just stood there, the faint scent of her perfume brushing against me, mixing with the wine and something warmer. Her fingers grazed my shoulder, a brief, almost accidental touch that lingered a second too long. My skin burned beneath it, and I forced myself not to move, not to break the fragile moment. You're too young, she said, but her hand didn't leave. Maybe, I admitted. But I'm here. Her eyes softened, conflicted, and for a long pause we stayed frozen like that, her hand resting lightly, my chest rising too quickly, the silence louder than any words. She pulled back at last, but not before letting her thumb trace the line of my collarbone as if memorizing it. When she finally stepped away, the bond between us had only tightened. The house had gone too quiet after she pulled away. Every tick of the clock seemed louder, each breath sharper. I thought she would send me upstairs, tell me to go, shut the door on everything that had just happened. But she didn't. She stayed by the couch, close enough that if I reached out, my fingers could have brushed the fabric of her robe. And then, a sound shattered it, footsteps overhead. Her son's room. My friend. Claire froze, her hand half raised like she'd been about to touch me again. We both looked up at the ceiling, holding our breath. The footsteps shifted, then settled. Silence returned, fragile as glass. She exhaled first, slow, shaky. You need to go, she whispered. I should. I agreed, but I didn't move. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. This is dangerous. Dangerous. The word throbbed between us like a second heartbeat. I stood finally, too fast, the couch creaking beneath me. She flinched at the noise, then gave me that same look she always did, part warning, part plea. I stepped toward her. Just one step, but it closed too much distance. She didn't move back. Claire! Her name caught in my throat. I wanted to say more, but the words died under her gaze. Her fingers curled around the edge of the table, knuckles pale. Don't. I can't help it, I said, softer than I meant to. Her lips parted, and for the first time I saw her guard slip entirely. Loneliness flickered there, naked and raw, and I understood. She wasn't only pushing me away from me. She was doing it for herself. For the years she'd spent being careful, being good, being the kind of woman people expected her to be. But now, she stepped closer, almost against her will. The robe brushed against my arm, light as air, and my chest tightened. Her perfume filled my head, dizzying, warm. I could feel the heat of her body without touching. One more inch, and we would have crossed it, the line we'd both been circling for weeks. Someone will find out, she breathed. No one has to. Her hand twitched, as if reaching for me. Then a vibration broke through the tension. My phone, buzzing in my pocket. I cursed under my breath and pulled it free. A message lit the screen. You still up? It was from her son. My heart dropped. I looked at Claire. She looked at me. Her hand hovered midair, then fell back to her side. See? She whispered, but her voice trembled. This can't. I shoved the phone away, ignoring it. I don't care. You should, she said, but her voice betrayed her. And then, as if pulled by gravity, she leaned in, not enough for a kiss, not yet, but close enough that I felt the warmth of her breath brush against my lips. We stayed there, suspended on the edge of something we couldn't name, couldn't finish, but couldn't escape. I didn't move. Neither did she. Her breath hovered against my lips, warm and uneven, and my pulse hammered so hard I thought she might hear it. Say something, I whispered, though I wasn't sure I wanted her to. Claire's eyes flicked down to my mouth, then back up again. For a moment, she looked almost afraid. Not of me, but of herself. I can't, she started, but the words tangled. You're too young. People will think I took advantage. You didn't. I cut in, maybe too sharply. My hand lifted before I could stop it, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. My fingers lingered at her temple, the soft line of her skin. I wanted this. I want you. Her eyes closed at the touch, as if she'd been waiting to hear it. When she opened them again, something had shifted. No defenses left, no half-smiles to hide behind. Just raw, naked hunger. You don't understand what you're asking, she said, voice rough. Then explain it to me. She laughed, but it broke halfway, catching in her throat. Her hand rose, hesitant, trembling, and pressed lightly against my chest. My shirt bunched under her fingers as if she needed to anchor herself. I've been alone a long time, she confessed. Longer than you think. Nights like this, they get harder. I swallowed hard, my hand sliding down, catching her wrist gently. You're not alone tonight. That undid her. Her body leaned into mine before either of us could reconsider. The robe brushed against my arm, and I felt her weight settle, her warmth sinking into me. I bent my head closer, my lips grazing just shy of her ear. Claire! Her sharp inhale cut through me. Her nails dug faintly into my shirt, holding me there. I dream about this, I admitted, low, raw, almost ashamed. About you. Her body stiffened, then melted all at once, as though she'd been holding back a tide that finally broke. Don't, she whispered, but her lips brushed my jaw as she said it. I turned, almost without thinking, and suddenly our faces were inches apart. Her eyes were glassy, her lips parted. The faint taste of wine clung to the air between us. I tilted forward, just enough to make it impossible to stop thinking about what came next. Her voice came out as the barest breath. If you kiss me, there's no going back. I know. Our lips hovered, barely brushing, my hand sliding to the small of her back, pulling her against me. Her robe slipped slightly at the shoulder, revealing more skin than either of us could ignore. The air snapped tight, every sound amplified, every second unbearable. And then, a car door slammed outside. Headlights swept across the curtains, cutting the room in half with sudden light. She gasped, pulling back a fraction, though her hands still clutched my shirt. We froze there, suspended, one breath away from everything we both wanted, and everything we weren't supposed to have. The headlights faded, the car rolling down the street until only the hum of its engine lingered. But the moment had already cracked wide open. Claire stepped back first, her hands slipping from my shirt like they'd burned her. She turned away, clutching the robe tighter around her. I didn't move. My skin still tingled from where she touched me. My chest rose too fast, my breath refusing to steady. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She stiffened, glanced at it, and froze. I saw the screen light up before she could snatch it. My friend's name. Her son. The message preview glowed clear as day. I heard something downstairs. Is everything okay? My blood ran cold. Claire's face drained of color. She set the phone down slowly, as if it might explode. He heard us. No, I whispered, but even I didn't believe it. She shook her head, pacing a step, robe swaying around her legs. I should have known. This house carries sound. He's not stupid. Her voice was frantic now, but her body betrayed her, trembling hands, flushed cheeks, eyes darting between the stairs and me like she couldn't choose which was the greater danger. Claire! I started, reaching for her. Don't. She lifted her hand, but it trembled midair before falling uselessly at her side. This isn't just about me anymore. If he suspects, the weight of it hit me hard. Not just guilt, fear. If my best friend knew, if word ever slipped, everything would implode. But beneath that fear, the pull toward her only deepened. The thought of walking away now, after what almost happened, felt impossible. You can't just pretend it isn't there, I said, my voice low, firm. She turned sharply, eyes flashing. And what exactly is it? A mistake waiting to happen? A fantasy that will ruin us both? I stepped closer before I could stop myself. It's not a mistake if we both want it. Her breath caught. She tried to look away, but I caught the flicker in her eyes, the truth she couldn't hide. Her back hit the counter as I closed the distance. My hand brushed hers accidentally, and neither of us pulled away. Her skin was ice cold from nerves, but when my thumb grazed her wrist, I felt her pulse hammering. She whispered, almost to herself, "If he finds out, he'll never forgive me." I leaned in, my lips hovering near her ear, my breath mingling with hers. "Then don't let him find out." Her shoulders trembled, her body caught between pushing me away and pulling me closer. Seconds stretched. The silence roared. Finally, she looked up at me, raw, unguarded. "If we do this," she said, her voice breaking, "we can't stop." And for the first time, it wasn't a warning. It was a decision. Her words, "we can't stop," echoed through me, louder than the clock on the wall, louder than my own heartbeat. Claire stood pressed against the counter, robe loose around her frame, her eyes searching mine like she was trying to read the part of me I'd never say aloud. The space between us was almost gone, just inches, just one breath. I leaned in, so close I felt the tremor of her exhale against my lips. "This is your choice," I whispered. "Not mine." "Yours." Her hand rose, shaky, fingers grazing the side of my face. The warmth of her touch made my chest ache. She hesitated, thumb brushing my jaw as if memorizing it, then pulled back an inch, like she wanted to test her own strength. But the moment stretched too thin. She broke first. Her body leaned into mine, soft, urgent, surrendering. My arms wrapped around her instinctively, drawing her in, and her head tilted just enough that her lips brushed against mine. Not a full kiss, not yet, but a spark that lit everything. She pulled back, breathless. "This is insane." "Then let's be insane," I said, my voice rougher than I intended. Her laugh was small, broken, but it collapsed into a sound closer to a sigh. She pressed her forehead against mine, and for a second, it felt like the whole world had shrunk to just this. The smell of wine on her breath, the silk of her robe brushing my arm, the heat of her chest rising against mine. "We'll ruin everything," she whispered. "Or we'll ruin nothing," I answered. "Maybe we'll just, finally stop pretending." Her hand slid down, gripping my shirt tight at the waist like she needed to hold on. Her other hand rose to the back of my neck, fingers threading lightly through my hair. That was it. Her lips found mine. It wasn't soft, not careful, it was messy, desperate, years of her loneliness colliding with months of my silence. My hands pressed into her back, pulling her closer, closer still, until there was no space left between us. When she finally broke away, her lips swollen, her breath ragged, she didn't step back. She stayed against me, eyes closed, as if afraid moving would undo it all. "You don't know what you started," she said, but her voice was different now, not a warning, but a confession. I kissed the edge of her jaw, slow, deliberate. "Yes, I do." She opened her eyes then, meeting mine, no masks left, no walls. For the first time, we weren't circling around what we wanted, what we feared. We stood inside it together. There was no going back. The kiss ended, but the silence that followed carried more weight than words could hold. Claire stayed pressed against me, chest rising too fast, her fingers still tangled at the back of my neck. I half expected her to push me away, to step back and build her walls again. But she didn't. Instead, she rested her head against my shoulder, her body softening in a way I'd never seen before. Vulnerable. Real. I hate how much I wanted that, she murmured, voice muffled against me. I smiled faintly, tightening my arms around her. Then don't hate it. Just let yourself have it. Her laugh was small, almost bitter, but it faded into something gentler. She pulled back enough to look at me, her face lit by the faint glow of the lamp. The robe had slipped again, but she didn't seem to notice or care anymore. You're too young, she whispered, almost out of habit. I touched her hand, threading my fingers through hers. And you're too beautiful for me to care. Her eyes closed, and she leaned into the touch, our hands tight together. For the first time tonight, neither of us pulled away. The fear was still there, hovering in the edges, the possibility of discovery, the judgment of others, the fragile trust we were breaking. But in that moment, the weight of those things felt distant, small compared to the warmth between us. Claire's thumb traced slow circles against my palm, like she was memorizing it. You'll regret this, she said softly, but her tone had shifted, less warning, more self-doubt. I shook my head. No. I'd regret walking away. Always. That silenced her. She pressed her forehead against mine, her breath steadying as if my words had rooted her. For the first time all night, her trembling stopped. We stood there for a long while, saying nothing, just listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the rhythm of our own hearts trying to find the same beat. Finally, she exhaled, long and slow. Then stay. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't shouted. It was simple, quiet, but it carried everything. I held her closer, brushing a soft kiss against her forehead. She let out a shaky sigh, her arms sliding around my waist, holding me as if she'd been waiting for this for years. We didn't need to say more. The decision was made. Whatever came tomorrow, whatever risks or whispers or complications, tonight was ours. And we weren't letting go.